In these next positions that we're going to look at, black has an outside pass pawn while white has a protected pass pawn. And the rule is this: if black can defend his pawn while staying inside the square of the pawn for the protected pass pawn, then he is able to get a draw. So if we look at this position, we could see that black is inside the square of the pawn and he can touch his pawn, in other words defend his pawn on the squares c5 and c6 while also staying inside the square of the pawn. Therefore this position should be a draw. So if white here goes with the king to d3, black will take the opposition on d5. Let's say white moves to c3, black maintains the opposition, white will come with the king to d3. Here black has to move the king to d5 or d6. He has to be careful. If he moves the king to c6, now he's gonna lose this game because white will come with the king to b4 and black cannot protect his pawn anymore. The only other square that black could have defended his pawn while staying inside the square of the pawn was the square c5, but now that square is taken away from him as white moved to b4. And he cannot move the king to b6 to defend his pawn because now he's outside of the square of the pawn and now he's not going to be able to catch white from queening. Therefore, coming back, black wants to move the king to d6. He wants to make sure that when white attacks his pawn, he's able to defend it on c6. And white cannot make any progress. He has to be careful. If he does something like, let's say, king to a5, here he could even lose this game if he's not careful. For example, black can move the king to c5, blocking white. And now if white moves back, he's actually going to lose this game. Black will simply start marching the b pawn, and now white is outside of the square of the pawn. He's not going to be able to catch it. And even if he starts moving his other pawn, black will be inside the square of the pawn and will be able to catch that pawn, while white will not be able to do so. Here, white will have to give away his f-pawn to be able to maintain a draw, moving the pawn to f6. Black will come after it, and after white takes the other one, black will just take the opposition when white takes his pawn and then get a draw this way. Therefore, in this position, the best that white has is a draw. Now, in this position, if we move black's pawn one rank over, white will actually be able to win this game, as black will not be able to defend this pawn anymore while also being inside the square of the protected pass pawn. So in this position, white will move with the king to d3, black will try to take the opposition, white will move over, black will keep the opposition, and after white moves the king to b3, now black here cannot maintain the opposition anymore. If he moves the king to b5, you can see he's outside of the square of the pawn for the protected pass pawn, and now white will simply start marching that pawn and black will not be able to prevent it from promoting. Therefore, coming back here, black has to move the king back, let's say king to c6. White will come after black's pawn. Black, let's say, will move the king to d6. After white takes the pawn and black tries to take the opposition while also staying inside the square of the pawn, he's not going to be able to get a draw here because white will be able to outflank him. He's going to move the king to a4, and black will not be able to maintain the opposition coming to c4 as he's outside of the square of the pawn. Therefore, he's going to have to retreat, let's say king to c6, and now white will move the king to b4, king to d6, king to c4. Even though black will take the opposition here on c6, it's not going to help him as white will move aside, and here black will not be able to maintain the opposition coming to e6 because of the pawn on the f file attacks the square e6. So here black will have to retreat. If he's going to move the king to d7, white will simply just take the opposition, and if the king will move to e7, then white will take the opposition on e5. And from here, let's say black will come with the king to f7. Now white can start pushing the pawn to f6. Here black has two tries, either moving the king to g6 or king f8. If he moves the king to g6, white will simply move up the king to e6, and now from here he's just going to start promoting that pawn. Coming back, if the king moves back to f8, white will simply come and take the pawn on the g file, and then with the two pawns he's going to be able to win this game. The last position that I want to go over is the exception where black is able to protect his pass pawn while also staying inside the square of the pass pawn. However, he's still losing this game just because that protected pass pawn is on the 6th rank. So what's going to happen here, white will move the king to c5, black will defend it to d7, and here white will be able to start pushing the pawn on the f file. Let's say pawn to f7. What's going to happen is black is going to come after it. After white takes and black takes the pawn on the f file, white will be able to take the opposition, and here he's going to use the principle of the landmines. He's going to be able to take black's pawn even if black takes the opposition. Just because the pawn is in black's side of the board, we know that this position is winning even if black has the opposition. All white has to do is move aside. After black takes the opposition, we start marching the pawn, and after we push it to g7, black has to get out. White will move in and then promote the pawn to a queen and win the game. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully this video helps. I encourage you to visit my website masterchess.com, where you will be able to practice a lot more similar types of positions.